Hi, this is Larry Johnson, and this is another in my series of video blogs on improving corporate culture. And today I wanted to talk about giving credit where credit is due. I do seminars across the country on management topics, and whenever I have a room full of people and we're going to brainstorm the issues that managers face, I have them list the characteristics of the worst and the best managers they've ever had. And one of the characteristics that always pops up under the heading of worst is a manager who takes credit for my work. You ever had that happen to you? Manager takes credit for something that you worked really hard on, and then he gets all the glory, and maybe you get a secondary mention if you're lucky. And there's nothing that just frosts me more than when that happens to me, and I know that it really ticks everybody else off that it happens to. And I think of the late, great Paul Bryant, who was once asked, and if you don't know who he is, he was a football coach. He was actually the winningest college football coach to ever live. He coached the Alabama Crimson Tide. And he was once asked, what was the secret to his success? And he said, well, you know, I'm just an old country boy. I don't know much about nothing. But he did say, three things that work for me is if anything goes bad, it's my fault. I did it. He takes the blame. He takes the heat. As far as the newspaper is concerned, the reason they lost the big game on Saturday was because Paul Bryant failed. And he will make sure that everybody knows that. Now, that doesn't mean he didn't hold the team accountable. I'm sure that Monday morning practice after they lost a big game was not fun if you were on Paul Bryant's team. But as far as the outside world is concerned, he took the heat. Now, he said when things go semi-well or semi-good, then we did it. It was a team effort, and we can share the credit. He said, on the other hand, if things go real good, we win the big game, we win the championship, we really sail. He said, then I step back and I make sure that they get all the credit, that it was them that did it. He said, that's been the secret to making people want to play football for me. Works pretty well. And, you know, that's pretty easy to quote and put on a slide like I did here. But I don't know that it's that easy to practice. So let's imagine you're walking down the hall and you pass your boss's office and your boss calls you in and says, you know, I'm not real happy. You remember that report you gave me last week? Well, I didn't have a chance to check it over, and I passed it along to my boss, who brought it out during the board meeting this morning and read it. And I got to tell you, I was a little embarrassed. It didn't make sense. The numbers didn't add up. In fact, there were even typos in it. And I am not happy, Larry. Now, you know that you didn't do this. See, you had delegated it to somebody on your team, Bob, and it was Bob who had done this. And now you're getting the heat. What is your temptation? Bob did it. No, it wasn't me, boss. It was Bob. And this is where you got to kind of suck it up and do what Bear Bryant did and say, you know, that was my fault. It won't happen again. I take all the responsibility. Now, don't get me wrong. Bear Bryant, I'm sure, held his team accountable. The newspapers may have asked him why he lost the big game, and he took the heat. But I'm sure Monday morning practice was not fun with Bear Bryant. So you can hold your people accountable, but that doesn't mean you pass along the blame from up top down to your people. Now let's switch this around. You're walking down the hall, and your boss says, come here. Listen, I just want to tell you how happy I am. This is so cool. You know that report you gave me? I really didn't have a chance to look at it, and I passed it along to my boss, and he brought it up at the board meeting, and they loved it. In fact, they loved it so much that they want to send you and your family to Switzerland at our worldwide conference so you can make a presentation on it, and it'll be a great opportunity for you, Larry. Now, what's your temptation now? Thanks, boss. No problem. And this is where you got to bite the bullet and say, hey, you know, it wasn't me, it was Bob. and send Bob to Switzerland. Now, maybe you can go along with him, but it's important that Bob get the credit. And according to Bear Bryant, that was the secret to his success. He was willing to make sure people got the credit and to not pass along the blame. He held people personally accountable instead. So that's my thought. And the question I would ask you is, are you doing that with your people? Are you doing it enough? Remember, you are the advertising agent for the people who work for you. It is through you that their name gets around and they get a little bit of the glory that gets spread around. So with that, I'll see you next week. If you need to go get a hold of me, I'm Larry Johnson. I'm at 602-943-0985, or you can email me, Larry, at larryjohnsonspeaker.com. So, adios.